Hello, welcome to the War Room. Today we are going to be breaking down the heavyweight matchup between Shamil Gaziev and Dontel Mays. Before we get into that, I just want to thank the subscribers on the channel. This is a really hyped fight. Shamil the Blob Gaziev, I have a lot of hype riding into this one, and of course, old veteran of the game, Dontel Mays, looking to make a bit of a statement. I reckon Shamil Gaziev is going to come in with a bit of a vengeance in this one. But before we get into the breakdown, we may as well look at the tail of the tape. So, Shamil Gaziev with a record of 12-1. You've got to imagine Shamil Gaziev is coming in here just leaping at the bits to sort of get himself another win. And Dontel Mays holding a record of 11-6. 6'4" for Shamil Gaziev, 6'6" for Dontel Mays. I don't know who listed that height at 6'6". I don't know if that's accurate for Dontel Mays. 265 pounds for Shamil Gaziev, 260 pounds for Dontel Mays. Dontel Mays will be sporting a 81-inch reach, a 2.5-inch reach advantage over Shamil Gaziev. And Shamil Gaziev will have the leg reach advantage with a 1-inch leg reach advantage at 45 inches. So Shamil Gaziev kind of burst onto the scene. The old Dagestani wrestler prototype that a lot of people thought, and it actually turned out that, which caught us a lot by surprise, is I didn't even know it until I was watching the fight, but they actually announced on his walkout that he used to play volleyball. So you've got to imagine Shamil Gaziev is still learning at where he's at in his career. He's still making leaps and bounds progress. And I reckon that Shamil Gaziev's been working on that wrestling. He did shoot 10 feet outside on a takedown against Jairzinho Rozenstruik in the first fight, and I reckon he's got to be sort of training a little bit differently for this one. Dontel Mays, he's sort of kind of been under the radar for his career. He sort of hasn't made a name for himself. You got to expect a guy in Dontel Mays to sort of be licking his chops at the chance to sort of beat someone with a lot of hype riding on the name like Shamil Gaziev, who seems to be getting a lot of hype from the fans. And Dontel Mays is sort of he's always a bit tricky. He's got a tricky style. He's going to slug himself forward and try to throw leather. But, Shamil Gaziev is just, he's never had a problem with that. He's never had a problem with someone throwing leather and eating punches. You look at Shamil and it just looks like you punch him one time and he kind of can engulf a punch. He's a massive heavyweight. He's massive for the division, absolutely massive for the division. And I reckon Shamil is just, he gassed out in his last fight. That definitely seemed to be a bit of the issue for Shamil in the last one against Rozenstruik. But it was a big jump up in competition, and you got to imagine Shamil is going back down in competition. He's going against Dontel Mays, who is going to slug himself forward, kind of trudge himself forward, but right into the range of Gaziev, who we know has a good chin. He was sort of smiling and eating the punches of what's his name, Rozenstruik, quite easily, and he just seemed to be content with, despite losing, sort of just standing in front of him, and he had a grin on his face, a big grin, and that's a guy that's tough, and he's willing to eat a punch or two, and if you're willing to eat a couple of punches from Jairzinho Rozenstruik, you're willing to eat a couple of punches from Dontel Mays. You got to imagine Shamil's going in here with a different game plan, possibly looking to win the outside foot battle, or looking to get a big heavyweight submission, maybe a Kimura, a straight arm lock. I could see Shamil sort of going in there and sort of taking the first round off just to kind of see, kind of feel things out and maybe fight hard in the second and third. That could be a really smart game plan to sort of let Dontel Mays throw his punches and throw himself out. But Dontel Mays, you've got to expect, I reckon he's going to come in and try to do the same thing. It'll be really interesting to see how Shamil Gaziev and his gas tank is. You got to imagine he's going to come in here with a better gas tank this time after, gassing himself out a little bit against a little bit. He completely gassed out against Rozenstruik. But, I've seen him sort of trudging himself across the basketball courts in the Middle East in the hot, scorching hot summer in Abu Dhabi, Bahrain, wherever he's training. I reckon Shamil's, you got to imagine he's coming in with a better gas tank. So, the question is, how are his coaches going to hype him up? You got to think that he's got to be hungry for this one. He's got to be starving for this one to prove us all wrong. Maybe looking at Dontel Mays as a bit of a donut on a string. You got to imagine Shamil's going to be fucking going after him. Shamil's double leg is always something for Dontel Mays to worry about, because Shamil, he's a massive heavyweight, and you've got to imagine that he's going to go in there looking for a big double leg. If he doesn't have his way on the feet, he did break down Martin Buday. He sort of had a pretty incredible performance against Buday, but again, sort of slowed down against Rosenstrike. I reckon he could potentially keep that pace a little bit longer against Mays. So, yeah, I just think Gaziev has this in the bag, to be honest. Mays is a tricky guy to fight. He's always been a bit tricky. He's got this ability to sort of slug himself across the octagon and throw leather, but I just think Shamil I just think he's got the grit. I think he's got the momentum, even though he's coming off of a loss. He's just a cannonball coming down your way. So I sort of see Shamil kind of overwhelming Dontel Mays. And it's tricky for Mays because he's a guy that will hold his ground, but it's like you've got to have that Jairzinho Rosenstrike footwork and the wealth of experience of the kickboxing matches that Rosenstrike has had to be able to kind of, catch your breath and sort of deal with, what's coming back in your direction. But you got to imagine Shamil's going to come in here with a different game plan. So I'm going to be picking Shamil Gaziev to get this one done. I possibly a straight arm lock, maybe a Kimura, potentially even a standing TKO up against the fence. He's got heavy hands. He's got very heavy hands. And Dontel Mays has been knocked out before. But Dontel Mays is looking to make a name for himself in this one. He kind of wants to take Shamil's hype. So I'll be surprised if we see him maybe go in here with a bit of a different game plan himself. But I reckon Shamil's got this. So, looking forward to this heavyweight scrap. Two bangers going at it. It'll be a good fight. I hope you guys enjoyed, and until next time.